You're listening to Drachenpod, the official podcast of Drachenfest US. Please share, like, review, and subscribe to help our community of champions grow. Learn more and secure your tickets for this incredible experience today at drachenfest.us. Drachenfest US, the largest fantasy LARP event in the United States. Each June, more than 1,200 attendees spend 4 days in Pennsylvania, role-playing fantasy characters engaged in immersive gameplay, experiencing stories, celebrations, battles, and medieval life. You have answered the call, and your adventure begins with this episode of Drachenpod. Welcome to Drachenpod, the official podcast of Drachenfest US. We are your hosts. I am Ryan Fariselli. I'm the marketing coordinator for Drachenfest.
I am Jason Hughes, the Limbus coordinator.
And I'm Carie Varner, and I am the Limbus design lead.
And we have a very exciting show for everybody.
Very excited.
People are writing, they're sending us messages, and they're like, oh my gosh, this show's so great.
This is just like the old podcast sometimes.
I'm excited because the person we're interviewing today has actually listened to at least one of our episodes.
What? That explains our numbers.
One of our episodes.
One of our episodes. That's right.
Wow.
Just one.
I think that's 3 confirmed. Then.
Yeah, so 3 listeners. Plus I saw somebody posted in the comments on our Facebook page that they listen as well. So it's 4. 4 listeners.
We did have that other person who listened to it on YouTube and did not like it. So that's 5, but it is what it is.
You haven't made it until somebody poops on your art.
You know what? Interaction works, right? In that,
Yeah.
the marketing rule, engagement, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, so anyway, today our guest is going to talk about Blue Camp, and so we are joined by Elise.
Elise? You mean the lead ref of Blue Camp?
That's right. She is Blue 1.
Blue one.
Blue 1.
I did read the notes today.
She's
That's
so
how I knew.
She's so blue. Aww. Let's go talk to her and find out everything there is to know about Blue Camp. I summon into the podcast the one whose luxurious lakefront property is the envy of all camps at Drachenfest. The one whose excitement and love for reffing serves all of the players at Blue Camp. The one whose generous hospitality welcomes all. I call forth Elise. Welcome, Elise. We're excited to have you on the podcast to talk about Blue Camp.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's the year of blue.
The reign of blue.
The reign of blue.
Yes, so exciting. Blue Camp worked really hard last year, and they really, really deserve it. And I'm so excited to see what they get up to during their reigning year.
Was this the first time Blue has won Drachenfest?
Yes, this has been the first year of Blue. So it's sort of new territory for the camp, and there's lots of exploring and celebration to be had around it.
It's awesome. Well, why don't we start by just kind of talking about you for a second? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, if you want to share what you do for a living, and then, talk a little bit about what your role is at Drachenfest.
So outside of LARP in general, I do a lot of different things, but most recently getting into event planning, which I love with all my heart. I also do LARP from time to time, nothing very frequent, which I wish I could change, but it's not a huge scene here in Canada. That's right, I'm Canadian.
Gasp.
But I do really enjoy it. I've been lucky to do a couple really cool games in the past. And then, at Drachenfest, I have been reffing here since year 2, making this my 4th year of reffing, which is incredible to think about.
Congrats.
And and this year I will be Blue 1, so the lead ref for Blue.
Have you ever gotten to play Drachenfest, or have you just been exclusively a ref?
funny story. I did arrive first year that I'd be reffing with sort of like a semblance of a character that I thought, I'll just sort of dip my toes in and like give it a try, see what I can do at the festival. And then I got here and started reffing, and I found that there was so much to do and so much to learn that actually sort of took over my attention and my interest. And I have spent maybe half an hour total in character at Drakenfest, and the rest of the time I have just been reffing, and I love it.
The first time I ever played a character at Drakenfest was last year, and it was just to walk around and see all the camps, and that was it. And then I was back at a character.
Yeah, I think some people get a little sad when I tell them I don't have a player character for Drakenfest. But honestly, I love staffing so much, and I find that it's such a great way to, have the freedom to also catch up with people that I only see at Drakenfest. So a lot of the time I'm either reffing, or when I'm not reffing, I'm like sitting down and having some heart-to-hearts with people that I don't get to see otherwise.
I've actually heard that same kind of story from several people who have been reffing here for a few years, where they say that they came on and were hesitant to become a ref because they were worried, if I ref, I'm not going to have as much time to play. And then they started reffing and realized that all they wanted to do was ref. And it wasn't because they didn't have time to play. It was just because it's such a great experience helping to run the event with so many other great people and make so many players happy. And I've also heard about what great sort of training it is, to bring back to your game back home.
Yeah, reffing is sort of like a nonstop learning experience. You pick up so many cool new skills, you meet so many new people, and you get to have a very different experience of the festival as a whole. I like that I can just sort of go and pop in and sort of see what every camp is up to and get to enjoy them all so equally. And I feel like that's something that exclusively reffing has given me. And yeah, I know a lot of people who don't play at all, because reffing is just such a fun and interesting way of experiencing the fest. There is something to be said about the perspective you get as a player also. And I do understand that when I'm exclusively reffing, I am giving up having that perspective. But to me, it's worth it.
That's really cool. And that's sort of how I feel too. I was going to ask you, everybody talks about, I learned so much from reffing. What's a skill or a lesson that you've taken away from reffing that either applies to your daily life or you've used in role-playing games?
Even sort of simple things like learning how to properly track plot has been so helpful. Learning how to manage all the different layers of player experience and expectation, I find has always been one of the experiences that I value the most. A lot of people, their first job growing up is like in retail or something where that's very, focused on other people and their experience. But I never did that growing up. And even as an adult, until I started doing event planning, I never really had those sort of experiences. So I find that Drakenfest has been so good for that, and honestly prepped me really well for when I did transition to doing event planning more full-time, because now I feel like I know so much about, figuring out what other people want and need and helping them get there.
The customer service element of Drakenfest is really very unique and fascinating. Between all of the surveys that they do, after you go to Drakenfest, after the event happens, they do a player and a staff survey, and they actually take all of that information very seriously, and it's well documented. And if you love spreadsheets, you'll love the post-game debriefs.
Oh yeah, we take it so seriously every year. The board especially takes it so seriously. They want to know what everyone is thinking and feeling, and everything is taken into account as much as is possible. So yeah, we take this game so seriously, and I think for good reason. So many people, this is their one big game of the year. This is the thing they shell out on. I feel like all staff take it so seriously and so to heart that we want to put all our effort into making this game as enjoyable and as honed in to our player base as possible, which I think is just so cool. I really respect the board and all the work they put into making that happen.
There really is a pride that you can just feel when the refs put that hat on, and it's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. It's such a unique and cool position to be in. We feel a lot of weight to do right by the players and to like be supportive to other staff as well. It really becomes sort of like a big family situation. We're a really tight-knit community.
We don't advertise it this way, but we really technically check all the boxes of being a blockbuster LARP.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it is run with the attention to detail and care and feel of just a really large local game, except local is defined by all of the US and Canada.
That's really true. I think that's really true. Even though Drakenfest has gotten to be so huge over the past couple of years, it still kind of feels the same as when it sort of first got started.
Yeah.
Even though the player count has like grown so massively, whenever I get on site, I'm still like, yeah, this feels exactly like it did year 2. And I'm sure people who have been here since year 1 sort of feel the same way.
The distance you walk is just greater.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The year 1 site was about a third the size. And we had less than a third of the people. But you're right. I was there. So many things feel the same in a very positive way.
Well, let's talk about Blue Camp, because that's really why we have you here. Tell us about the Blue Dragon.
So the Blue Dragon is all about 4 things: freedom, hospitality, discovery, and greed, which I think makes for just such a cool collection of experiences that players can have.
Didn't it used to be a slightly different list?
Yes, quite a few of the dragons had a pillar change, and one of them is the Blue Dragon. They switched from being the pillar of self-determination, in brackets at any cost, to the pillar of hospitality. And this shift occurred after a lot of player effort and a lot of the board sort of watching Blue Camp and seeing the direction that it was going in. And I would say that this really sums up Blue Camp as a whole. I think they really are the camp of hospitality. They look out for each other. They look out for other players regardless of camp affiliation. They are so welcoming, and they have an amazing bar called the Altar that is really sort of the heart of the camp. And yeah, I think if there is a single word that I think encompasses Blue Camp the best, it would be hospitality. So I think that was a really fitting change.
Constantly impressed by a game of this size. It's a blockbuster, like we said, that is so responsive to what players are doing. Because, like you said, several camps have had slight changes like that.
Do you know, how did the players do that? Like, did they
communicate?
Yeah. How did the blue players or characters communicate and get this changed? Do you know the story?
Unfortunately, no. I don't actually know the story. I think I came to Blue Camp last year.
What did you first ref then?
For the first 2 years, I was at Shadow.
Oh.
Then I kind of hit the threshold for the amount of years you're allowed to stay at one camp before they move you. So I got moved to Blue. It's been really cool getting to know Blue Camp.
That's pretty cool when you think about it, because there's been lots of organizations I've been part of over the years that were role-playing game organizations where people would have fought back about, no, I'm a blue ref, or I do werewolf stuff. I don't do vampire stuff. And the flexibility of the ref team to move where they're needed, it's pretty impressive to me.
I saw you looking at me, Jason.
Oh, yeah, no. Carie is one of those refs who would have never left werewolf.
But that's actually by design. The board thinks that it's very important. And I agree that, you never want to get into the mindset that you just ref for one camp. That's not what refs are supposed to be doing. Refs are there for the players as a whole, not just for the players in a specific camp. And I think moving people around is a great way to, one, get refs used to the idea of like, right, I'm not just a ref for this specific camp, because that can sort of create maybe some unintentional biases. But it also helps keep players from, viewing just a handful of refs, quote unquote, their refs, as being like the refs that they want to confide in and trust. And then like other refs as like, perhaps working for other camps and therefore not necessarily having their best interests at heart. So it's really important for both players and for refs to like have this feeling that refs are for the community as a whole and not just for like a specific camp.
You talked a little bit about the hospitality aspect of the Blue Dragon. Why don't you share with us a bit about how Blue Camp represents things like freedom?
The freedom pillar has been used by a lot of different players in a lot of really, I think, emotional and lovely ways. The way that I typically see it represented is by players who are looking to role play, casting off the chains, real or imaginary, of past lives. So you usually see that coming from players who want to explore being from a place of constraint in some way, and then finding freedom of like self-expression and self-determination. Even though self-determination isn't its own pillar anymore, I think it sits really nicely under the pillar of freedom. And yeah, the opportunity to like explore themselves and be their own person. And I've seen this happen a couple different ways through different players. And I always really like seeing it. I think it's a really emotional and satisfying kind of role play.
Do you see similar things concerning the discovery pillar?
Yes, Blue Camp is, for obvious reasons, kind of really nautical and sailor themed. And there's quite a lot of, there's always quite a lot of people who want to play both in this sort of like very literal sense of adventuring. So we often have, you know, these like a lot of quests that are featuring, you know, some sense of like discovery in some way. You have to like go out and you have to talk to other people. You have to go out and you have to find certain things. And then also there's like an aspect of, I think, self-discovery of like, you know, building these close relationships and delving internally as well. So it kind of goes both ways of like, you can discover in a very literal sense of like going out into the world and seeing things. And you can also discover by sort of looking inward and doing some soul searching.
That last pillar is greed, and that kind of falls under that realm where all of the dragons have one pillar that is perhaps just a little questionable in its goodness. It is not just exclusively good or bad. How does greed come into play for a blue camper?
This can go a couple different ways. For one, there's that very sort of literal, like pirate lust for gold aspect that you can see in some characters. And Blue Camp takes this pretty seriously. They have their own bank. They have
coins.
They have crab coin.
Yeah.
Crab coins.
Yeah.
Crab coin, yes. They have crab coin. They have their own bank. And they take this money aspect pretty seriously. They have 17 approved enterprises. So you know that this is a camp that is hardworking in many respects, and will do a lot for some coin. But this also goes in more of like a zest for life kind of way, where they're also greedy for experiences. They are a little bit hedonistic. They love to collect things of all kinds, collect experiences, collect friends, collect songs, collect treasure and coin. So if you join Blue Camp, you will get to do a lot of really fun and cool quests that sort of focus in around this idea of attaining things and also of like settling scores. So there's a lot of debt settlement, whether it's like monetary debt, but also like more amorphous kinds of debt, like you've done me wrong in some way, let's settle this sort of situation.
Can you give us a shout out for a couple of the enterprises? Just like I'm interested.
That's so many.
Well, no, I'm interested in like the theme, like what.
Oh, right.
You know,
everybody knows the altar, and I've heard of coins, so I knew about
what
the
else?
bank. But
Like,
what else?
give us a couple more.
Okay, yeah. So there's the boat, which is an actual big boat that they will haul out final battle with water, and like they can serve drinks from it. There is the Fair Winds Trading Company, which does a whole bunch of stuff, but also sort of like aside, Blue Camp is also big on fancy hats. And if your hat is not feeling fancy enough, Fair Winds Trading does have accessories for your hat. At least they did in the past. I'm sure they'll have it again this year.
I love that.
And there is the Seafaring Circus, which they do a performance every year. And it's actually not necessarily strictly just a blue camp thing. You can perform at the Seafaring Circus even if you aren't part of blue camp. Also, another weird aside, blue camp's got like clowns. I don't think people would know by just like thinking about blue camp, but blue camp does have clowns.
Are they terrifying or funny?
Oh, they're
Or is the answer yes?
I wouldn't say they're terrifying. I would say that they're just like they're clowns, but they're not like silly. I mean, they can be silly, goofy, but they're also so much more than that. Just go to blue camp and ask to see the clowns, and then have a chat with them. You won't regret it.
How did I miss this? Maybe I do need to play more.
I am 100% a blue player now.
You know what?
I'm going to be a clown.
It's happened again. Every one of these, I'm like,
I
you know what? I do want to be a member of this camp.
Right? Jason, let's go be clowns.
People don't know they're clowns at blue camp, but they're there.
We can't be clowns and blood witches, or can we?
I do know you. Not only do you have clowns, the obvious thing is you do have a huge group of pirates that play there, which is appropriate because, you talked about how there was a nautical theme. And also for those of you who are listening that have never been to Drachenfest, Blue Camp is the only camp that is actually directly right on the lake that is in the campground as well.
It's a beautiful spot. Beautiful spot.
It is gorgeous. Was it so beautiful when it was raining buckets and we weren't prepared for it? Not necessarily. I still have a very vivid memory of Matt, the blue second, shoes off, feet just like ankle deep in the mud, sloshing around. And that is ingrained in my memory forever, I fear. But it is a really beautiful sight right by the lake, which is, again, so fitting. And Blue Camp puts so much pride into like their camp setup. It's really beautiful to see. I think their wall, don't tell the other camps, I think their wall is like the coolest wall and has been one of the coolest walls since day one. They have always put so much effort into it. And I love that about Blue Camp.
As the marketing coordinator, I've seen photos from every year, and I will say that Blue Camp seemed to be the first camp to really embrace the idea of making their wall look totally awesome.
They have put so much effort in since day one. One of the things that I've noticed a lot, I'm in every single camp Discord because I like to see what they're up to.
Lurker.
And things I've noticed being in Blue Camp more actively in the past 2 years is that they plan so hardcore. There is not a quiet time to be had in the Blue Camp Discord. They are always chatting and hanging out with each other. They are always planning. They are always fundraising for various enterprises and for the camp in general. And I think that is like a level of community that is so special and not necessarily like just unique to Blue Camp, but I think Blue Camp has been doing it like since day one, and they keep doing it like a little bit better and better every single year.
It sounds like the hospitality extends out of character as well, out of game.
Yes, they are so warm as a community. If you're a new player and you're like worried about joining Blue because you think it like seems maybe too big or there might be too many new people and you feel kind of shy, I just want to say that like Blue Camp is so full of players who will just embrace you, who will help you in game by bringing you fun plot if you need it and want it, but who will also help you out of game if you need a Band-Aid, if you need like an ice pack, if you need some electrolytes. Players are going to have that on hand, and all you have to do is ask. They really look out for each other, and I think that's one of the best qualities of Blue outside of game.
Last year, when I came down to Blue Camp to look at it when we were in the build phase, I was blown away by how hard that team was working, dealing with all these problems and issues that they had no way of knowing that they were going to run into, and yet they kept finding solutions and charging ahead. That seems like you're saying that is just the nature of Blue Camp, to work together and to be good for each other.
100%. And honestly, that extends outside of camp also. I've had multiple experiences of Blue Camp players kind of going above and beyond to do things that benefit all camps. Last year, I know LaGrange out of character Tony, the head archer for Blue Camp, went around to all the different camps and talked to their archers and had them collectively agree to an arrow moratorium after dark for everyone's safety, which I think was such a thoughtful thing to do. And then I think it was year 3, the head crafter and surgeon from Blue Camp, independently of each other, went around and spoke to the avatars and had the avatars agree to recognize the head crafters and surgeons of each camp as being like an important role in game, which I think is just another example of like doing something cool that every camp can benefit from. So as much as Blue Camp really supports and rallies around each other, I would say they also put a lot of effort and energy into uplifting other people and their play. I would say that Blue Camp players take Play to Lift so to heart and so seriously. Everything that they do, they're always asking themselves, how is this going to make other people have fun? And I think that's amazing.
I realize we're talking a lot about the hospitality aspect, but I think that we would be misleading if we weren't really focusing on it some, because it definitely is the main one that is easiest to spot from Blue Camp. One of the things that's caused is it has made Blue so far the largest camp in all of Drachenfest. There are more players in Blue Camp than there are in any other camp. And there's good and bad with that, right? The good is that there's always somebody there with something to do. It's a lot easier to get involved and jump in, but it can also be intimidating. Share for some of the folks listening that might be thinking about joining Blue for the first time, some insight or thoughts on what it's like to come into the biggest camp in the game.
A lot of Blue Camp players who are veterans to the camp are super willing to take new players under their wings. We also take the time during camp briefings before game starts to have new players sort of stand up and make themselves known. So in this way, veteran players know sort of who to look out for, who might be new to the community. And this way, new players can sort of look around and see who they can turn to, more experienced players that they can turn to in times of struggle getting adapted to the game or getting adapted to the camp. I would also say if you are a new player, if you have Discord, please go join on the Discord, unofficial Discord for Blue Camp. Like I said, they are always chatting on there. There's always going to be someone to answer a question for you, or if you want to introduce yourself in advance and start making connections online ahead of coming to Cooper's Lake on game day. I think that's a really great way to sort of ease into things and not have your first time meeting everyone being on the Wednesday before game. But yeah, Blue Camp is really friendly, really hospitable in game and out of game. And I think that makes it a lot less intimidating for new players than it might initially seem on the surface.
The other question that comes from this then is the dark side of the hospitality aspect. And just so folks at home know, the reason I'm bringing this up is because you actually specifically asked for us to talk about this. You had said that kind of the downside to having such huge amounts of hospitality is that there is often a misperception that Blue is nothing more than a party camp.
I did ask this to be brought up specifically. I know that this is something when I sort of reached out to Blue Camp to be like, hey, what are some things you'd like me to bring up? They also echoed this. There's this idea that Blue Camp is a camp about partying hard and drinking a lot. Not that these things can't happen. Again, Drachenfest itself is very candid and open. This is not a dry game. This is a game where you can drink. This is a game where if you want to, you can stay up late and have fun parties in your camp or throughout the property.
Every camp does that to different degrees.
Exactly. And also there's the spa and there's places in the bazaar they can go. So it's not like it's just Blue Camp. But I think perhaps due to like the size of Blue Camp, people start to view it a certain way. But Blue Camp is so much more than that. Like I said earlier on, talking about some of the plot that people have gotten into and the ways that Blue Camp players have sort of consistently tried to make things fun for other people as well. there's plenty of room, for serious and contemplative role play. I know not everyone likes, goofy, silly role play. I have a friend like that in Blue Camp who, she really doesn't like silly, jokey role play. And this is something she takes really seriously, and I really respect her for that. And she has a great time in Blue. She finds that there's plenty of time to, be introspective, to connect on more serious topics for other people. Blue Camp may have clowns, but it's not just, silly, goofy all the time. It's not just parties all the time. There's a lot of layers to it. So I would say don't be afraid of joining Blue Camp, even if you aren't the most nightlifey kind of person, because there is so much more than that. And there are also ways, to avoid that kind of play if it's something that you're really not interested in.
I was going to say, as somebody who has come through Blue Camp on one of the nights when there is a bit of a party atmosphere, it doesn't feel like a rave. It's not a rager. It's more like a bunch of people really just enjoying themselves, which is different.
It's more like a celebration.
Yes, it's celebratory. It's not a rager.
Yes, it's like a really nice tavern.
Yeah.
The altar is probably the most sort of famous of all of the watering holes found in the Drakenlands.
It is. It actually won a Dragon Egg, and it has its own song that I think anyone who stays even remotely close to Blue Camp will know very, very well, because they sing it multiple times a day.
Well, hold on. I want to hear the song now.
You have to sing it.
Oh my God. It's a call and response. So the lyrics kind of change every time. But the chorus is very repetitive. So I'm going to do it kind of fast. Let's go drinking at the altar. Let's go drinking at the altar. Let's go drinking at the altar. To the drink, to the drink, to the drink. And then someone else will make up a verse and they will sing the chorus over and over again.
That's wonderful.
And it does get stuck in your head. And if I wasn't all right on those notes there, people, don't come after me, please. I haven't heard this song in a year. I'm doing my best impression.
Right. Well, I've told this story on the show before, so I'm going to just tell it very, very quickly. But, the lyrics there were "Let's go drinking at the altar." And so when I took my daughter, who was 15 last year, around, and we stopped by the altar. They have dry hours, and then after, a certain time in the evening, they begin serving alcohol. And we had showed up 15 minutes after they had started serving alcohol. And the person that was working the bar, I think they were one of the folks who runs the altar, insisted on, cutting off alcohol for 15 minutes so that my daughter could sit down and have a non-alcoholic drink and see the altar for a few minutes. And that was amazing. So I definitely want to just say to folks who are a little, who might have reservations about the party reputation, that it isn't quite what the reputation seems.
Hospitality, at the end of the day, is more complicated than just serving.
Yes. We have pirates and we have clowns. What kind of characters make good Blue Camp characters?
I think there's so many different ways of going about it. My secret, maybe controversial opinion is that you don't necessarily have to play a certain kind of character to really thrive in a camp. I don't think you have to look at their pillars and be like, okay, I have to cater my entire character to these pillars specifically and nothing more. But I do think that Blue Camp, through its quests and through the way that play has been going in the past couple years, I think Blue Camp is a really good place for people who are looking to connect with other people. I think you can be a more reclusive Blue Camp player, but I think you would be doing yourself and your camp a disservice. I think so much of what Blue Camp does, both plot-wise, but also the way they interact with each other, putting yourself out there and being willing to go out and discover one of the pillars of Blue Camp, of going out and discovering other people and discovering what other camps have to offer and what, the Drakenlands in general have to offer, being open to doing that, being a little bit conniving. I think it kind of comes off the greed bit that not a lot of people necessarily really think that Blue Camp would have. But if you're kind of a tricksy sort of character, I think you would find that the greed pillar is actually a really fun angle to play off of. And then in general, I would say, for touching on all the pillars, for freedom, like I mentioned earlier, I think freedom is such a good pillar to play off of if you are wanting to play a character who is coming from a place of some sort of struggle. We've had a lot of good player rituals where they were like freeing parts of themselves that have perhaps been repressed magically. We've had people who just have storylines that are based in oppression or some kind of, inhibiting force that they're now able to exist beyond in Blue Camp, which I think is lovely. And then also hospitality, if you're considering adding to the list of approved enterprises for Blue Camp, I think Blue Camp is a great place to do it. There are so many enterprises. There's so many people who exist in Blue Camp and people who come to Blue Camp. So if you're thinking about playing an enterprising character as well, I think Blue Camp is really good for it.
Halt, weary traveler. Let me ask you a question. Are you tired of your tankard being too empty, too often? Sick of the same bland, watered-down swill at your local watering hole? Then banish those dark days. Step out of the shadows and into the sunlight at the Crab Shack Beer Garden. We have summoned legendary new elixirs to the realm. Behold our new lineup of rotating craft beers, forged by the finest local brewers, or refresh your soul with our crisp, sweet, hard ciders. This is your kingdom of outdoor comfort. No heavy armor required. Just massive pours, great company, and the freshest drafts in all the land. Fill your tankard to the brim, gather your guild, and find us at the Crab Shack Beer Garden today.
Talk about what the camp leadership looks like in Blue Camp.
So camp leadership works sort of similarly, I would say, to most other camps in the sense that, on Wednesday night, everyone gets together and selects their leadership for that year. And this is done with help from the Avatar and the Second. There's the official camp leadership, but I would also say that there are some really big names of players who just put a lot of themselves out there, who sort of unofficially become kind of camp leadership in a way that a lot of people look up to. But we have all the general suspects. We have our champion. We actually have 2 champions because Blue Camp is so big. And also this is great in case one champion is indisposed. We have a second champion to go step in. And they do a really good job at sort of rallying the troops and getting everyone hyped up for battle.
Do the 2 champions have different names? Or are they just both champion?
All camps are supposed to have 2 champions.
What?
Well, when they reach a certain size and when it becomes necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few minutes ago your avatar. The blue avatar kind of is a bit of a scene stealer during the opening and closing ceremony rituals. What is the blue avatar like?
The blue avatar, I think, is such a strong personality. He's so cool. He's funny. He's a bit intense. He can play both serious and goofy, which I think is always a strength in an avatar, being able to, turn on that sort of jovialness for the players who are looking for more of a lighthearted, jokey exchange, but then also being very serious and very intense when it counts. I think the blue avatar really likes to play into the cycle of conflict and making up with the other dragon avatars. And I think has a bit of a slightly aggressive streak that, is not the main focus at all, but definitely very competitive. It's that greed thing again. It's the greed thing. Blue avatar is greedy to win, greedy for the win. And I think that makes him such a good leader for blue, and also is going to make the avatar really happy this year because they get to preside over a reigning camp, which I think is going to be so fun for them.
Do you have any suggestions on how new players could have fun or be involved in Blue Camp before they go to Drachenfest and then at Drachenfest?
Like I said, Blue Camp Discord, always a fun place to be. Everyone's always posting something, either, personal life stuff or relating to Blue Camp. So that can be a really good way to sort of get an eye on what enterprises exist and also, what the different players are hoping to get into this year. And then once you are at Blue Camp, I would say never overlook your avatar and your second. They're not just there to look cool. They actually have a lot of behind the scenes intel on plot. A lot of the ways that plot is seeded to players is through the avatar and the second. So if you're ever feeling like, man, I wish there's something more I could do, and you aren't looking necessarily to talk with other players, that should always be, I think, your first go-to, then the avatar and the seconds are going to be an amazing resource for you. And also they're fun to talk to. I love our avatar and our second. I think they're really fun and cool guys. Talk to them more. And also the ref team, have to say the ref team, because I think people don't always think about us when it comes to getting involved in camp, but your ref team is a great resource for finding connections for you if that's what you're looking for, finding ways to get you out of your shell if that's something you're struggling with. Also, when it comes to general plot, keeping us in the loop is a great way to make your plot go a lot further than perhaps you could have envisioned it going to begin with. I think if you talk to other players, talk to your avatar and your second, and talk to your refs, I think you're going to have pretty much every single base covered in terms of having a good time at Drakenfest.
I think of Blue Camp is the camp that makes the most memes. What is your favorite Blue Camp meme?
This is going to be so basic, but it is just the crabs.
I love it. I love that entire camp was fundamentally shaped by the fact that one guy showed up in a really cool crab costume.
I love that costume so much. I love it more than I can even say. And the fact that there's all this different crab related stuff. There's Croin, Crab Coin. There's House of Crabs now. I think they're getting off the ground this year.
Once you get crabs, it's hard to get rid of.
That's right. It infiltrates everything.
Oh my God.
What is the House of Crabs?
House of Crabs is a new adults-only enterprise at Blue Camp. I hope they get off the ground this year. They were very hyped for last year, and then it flooded. It's sort of like a cabaret situation. You'll have to go and find out. And also buy crab coin, because they do take crab coin at the House of Crabs. Who would have thought?
I have a final question for you. Very, very important question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your very first LARP character?
My very, very first LARP character, the first LARP character ever, was for Goat LARP.
I was there. Yeah, so we've met at Goat LARP. I didn't realize.
Really? I didn't realize either. Also, this just goes to show that in some circles, all roads do lead back to Dan Comstock.
Drakenfest is Goat LARP 2. I don't care what anybody says.
Really is. At Goat LARP, I played a character called Melia, who is a tree spirit, a dryad. And she just kind of went around and hung out with the goats. This was my very first foray into LARPing. Was it 2018? I had never even played a tabletop roleplay game at that point.
Wow.
I was completely new to the concept of roleplay in general.
Wait, your first role-playing game was Goat LARP?
Yes.
That's complicated. That's great.
Yeah.
It's a real deep cut. But yeah, my very first brush with role-playing games ever was through LARP. And the only reason I ever even found out about it was that I did a BuzzFeed quiz about niche hobbies that you should try based on your current interest or something. And as a theater kid, through and through, I was recommended LARP. And I thought to myself, what the heck is LARP? And did a Google search, and that kind of just changed my life, not gonna lie. I had played Melia at Goat LARP, which was obviously a very short lifespan for a character. And then from there, I've kind of just been bopping around to different one-shot games and having a good time. Still kind of feel like a baby in terms of LARP experience, even though I've technically been in the LARP world for like over 5 years now. Still feel there's a lot out there, and I'm excited to do more.
Well, we're excited that
Excellent.
you are doing more, and we're
Yeah.
excited that you're doing it with Drachenfest. So thank you so much for joining us and telling us about Blue Camp. It's been really great to get to know you, Elise, and I hope that we get to hang out in June when we come down or come over or head up. Or whatever it is, whatever directional sense
When we
don't
converge.
have upon the venues of the pens.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me. Super hyped for the Year of Blue.
I mean, the pirates, right?
Are you sure they were pirates?
That's true.
They were clowns.
They're clown pirate. Like legit, I did not know there was that many enterprises in Blue Camp.
17 is a
That's a
lot.
lot.
That's crazy.
You know, something that we said off camera, and we talk about this with every avatar, we think about the negative aspect, like greed. And this greed for experience, greed for more life, greed for...
It was all not financial.
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, definitely we want money, but it's also greed for friends, greed for more experiences.
All right. I have possibly the most important question I've asked either of you ever.
Is it what's for dinner?
No.
Oh, okay. What is it then?
No, because I don't know what's for dinner.
Yeah, nobody
true.
does.
So,
Nobody
yeah,
does.
no.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. Ninja or pirate?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
Is the question who will win?
Yeah. Who's going to win? Like, what do you
I thought
choose?
it was like, do I want to be? Which
well,
one?
I mean, but who's going to win in a fight? A ninja or a pirate?
The clowns.
Yeah, the clown. You're right. I think as since we just listened to the lead raps, not raps.
I'm a pirate from Blue. Here to say.
Stop, please, I'm begging. Since we just heard Blue Camp talk so vivaciously about their camp,
That was a $5 word coming from you.
I almost said another one that's it's like $11 or $12,
Wow.
and it just has slipped my mind.
It's amazing.
Wait, how many crab
crab
coins?
coins? Yeah.
Right. Let's see. I want to say that would be, man, I don't know what the dollar to silver conversion is, so I can't tell you. Anyway, yes, I have to go with pirate, at least for now.
What about you, Carie?
All right.
Talk to the ninja camp. Maybe my vote changes.
All right. Well, unfortunately, my real life is going to influence me and not my Drachenfest life because I am a avid Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, so I always have to go with ninjas.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. So maybe we need to pick up one more person, and then we can. That could be our characters.
I could be Donatello.
Cowabunga.
Well, like
Maybe.
I could definitely make us some turtle shells. That would be good.
I could be Donatello.
All right. Well, thanks again to Elise for joining us and talking about Blue Camp. And I hope that everybody goes and likes and subscribes to Drachenpod wherever you get your podcasts, or you can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Until then, we will see you at Drachenfest.
Cowabunga.
Let's go drinking at the altar. Let's go drinking at the altar. Let's go drinking at the altar. To the drink, to the drink, to the drink.